Good morning, students. Today in this lecture, we will discuss about the filters in frequency domain. So, when we have study in our previous lectures, we have study about the filters which we have to use for image enhancement purpose. So, in that particular time, we have seen that we have worked out on the two types of filters. One is based on the spatial domain and another which is based on the frequency domain. So today in this lecture we will discuss about the frequency domain filter. So here we will see that if we are talking about the spatial domain filter, so that filter is basically work out on the pixel directly on the pixel. Okay, so we have to done the all the processing will be done on the pixel to pixel. But if we are talking about the frequency domain filters, so here we have to work out on the signals which in frequency domain. So and since this Fourier series and frequency domain is purely mathematical based, so in this lecture we will try to focus on the basically digital image processing in spite of the mathematical part. So in first of all we will see that what about the frequency domain analysis. So till now we have seen that all the domains in which we have analyzed a signal, so we analyze it with respect to time. But here we will discuss about the frequency domain, means signal with respect to time but with respect to frequency. Now what about the difference between the spatial domain and frequency domain? So in a spatial domain we deal with the images as it is the value of the pixels of image change with respect to scene. Whereas in frequency domain, we deal with the rate at which pixel values are changing in spatial domain. So we can see that if you have an input image matrix and then you have to processing on it and you will uh, receive the output image matrix. So, in simple spatial domain, we directly deal with the image matrix, but in frequency domain, we don't do such type. So, what about the frequency domain? So, we first transform the image to its frequency distribution. Then, our black box system perform whatever processing it has to perform, and output of the black box in this case is not an image but a transformation. So, after performing inverse transformation, it is converted into an image which is then viewed in the spatial domain. So now we can also see what will happens. First of all, you have an input image and now you have to done the frequency distributions, and after processing on that particular part, you have to done the inverse transformations and then we will receive the output image. So here we have used the word transformation. So what does it actually mean? So we will see about the what is the transformations. So a signal can be converted from time domain into the frequency domain using the mathematical operators called the transforms. So there are many kind of transformations that does this. Some of them are given below. Fourier series, Fourier transformation, Laplace transformations and Z transform. What about the frequency components? Any image in spatial domain can be represented in a frequency domain. But what do these frequencies actually mean? We will divide frequency components into two major components. High frequency components. High frequency component corresponds to the edges in an image. So image edges part of image that is the related to the high frequency components. Now we will see about the low frequency components. So low frequency components in an image corresponds to smooth regions. Now we will discuss about the Fouriers. So Fouriers give Fourier series and Fourier transform. to convert a signal into frequency domain. So Fourier series states that periodic signals can be represented into sum of sines and cosines when multiplied with a certain weight. So that is basically in it further states that periodic signals can be broken down into further signals with the following properties. The signals are sines and cosines, and the signals are harmonics of each other. So it can be pictorially viewed as in the above signal, the last signal is actually the sum of all the above signals. And this was the idea of the Fourier. So we can see that this is the last signal and that is the sum of the all the signals. So now we will see how it is calculated. So since as we have seen in frequency domain that in order to process an image in frequency domain, we need to first convert it into the frequency domain, and then we take the inverse of the output to convert it back into the spatial domain. So that's why both Fourier series and Fourier transform has two formulas, one for conversion and one converting it back to the spatial domain. So here we will see what about the Fourier series. So Fourier series can be denoted by this formula. So you have to just remember it. F u comma v, that is equal to minus infinite to infinite f x y a function, and exponent e to the power minus j 2 pi ux plus vy dx dy. The inverse can be calculated by this formula fxy. So that is equal to minus infinite to plus infinite fuv e j 2 pi ux plus vy du dv. So what about the Fourier transform? The Fourier transform simply states that the non-periodic signals whose area under the curve is finite can also be represented into integrals of the sines and cosines after being multiplied by a certain weight. The Fourier transform has many wide applications that include image compression, filtering, and image analysis. What about the difference between the Fourier series and transform? So, although both Fourier series and Fourier transform are given by Fourier, but the difference between them is Fourier series is applied on periodic signals and Fourier transform is applied for non-periodic signals. So which one is applied on images? So now the question is that which one is applied on the images, the Fourier series or Fourier transform? So well, the answer to this question lies in the fact that what images are? Images are non-periodic, and since images are non-periodic, so Fourier transform is used to convert them into the frequency domain. Now discrete Fourier transform. So we will see. So we are dealing with the images and in fact digital images. So for digital images we will be working on discrete Fourier transform. So now consider the above Fourier term of a sinusoid. It includes the three things: spatial frequency, magnitude, and phase. The spatial frequency directly relates with the brightness of the image. The magnitude of sinusoid directly relates with the contrast. Contrast is the difference between maximum and minimum pixel intensity, and phase contains the color information. The spatial frequency directly relates with the brightness of the image. The magnitude of sinusoidal directly relates with the contrast. Contrast is the difference between maximum and minimum pixel intensity. Face contains the color information. The formula for two-dimensional discrete Fourier transform is given below. So that is the f u comma v that is equal to 1 upon m n, x is equal to 0 to m minus 1 and y is equal to 0 to n minus 1, f x y e to the power minus j 2 pi ux by m plus uy by n. The discrete Fourier transform is actually the sampled Fourier transform, so it contains some samples that denotes an image. In above formula, fxy denotes the image and fuy denotes the discrete Fourier transform. The formula for two-dimensional inverse discrete Fourier transform is given fxy that is equal to u is equal to 0 to m minus 1 and v is equal to 0 to n minus 1 capital F u v e to the power j 2 pi ux upon m plus vy upon n. The discrete Fourier transform is actually the sampled Fourier transform, so it contains some samples that denotes an image. So in above formula, fxy denotes the image and capital Fuv denotes the discrete Fourier transform. The formula for two-dimensional inverse discrete Fourier transform is given by the inverse discrete Fourier transform converts the Fourier transform back to the image. Now consider this signal. Now we will see an image whose we will calculate the FFT fast Fourier transform magnitude spectrum and then shifted FFT magnitude spectrum and then we will take log of that shifted spectrum. Now we will see what about the convolution theorem. So now what's the relationship between image or spatial domain and frequency domain? So this relationship between spatial domain and frequency domain explained by a theorem which is called as a convolution theorem. Convolution theorem, the relationship between the spatial domain and the frequency domain can be established by convolution theorem. The convolution theorem can be represented as, consider this example. The same image in the frequency domain can be represented this way. So fxy into hxy, so that is in time domain, and fu comma v and hu comma v, that is a frequency domain. So what about this hxy that is equal to huv? So it can be stated as convolution in spatial domain is equal to filtering in frequency domain and vice versa. The filtering in frequency domain can be represented as Fourier transform, filtering, inverse Fourier transform. So that is the image and again image. The steps in filtering are given below. At first step, we have to do some pre-processing. An image in a spatial domain means increase its contrast or brightness. Then we will take discrete Fourier transform of the image. And after that, center the discrete Fourier transform as we will bring the discrete Fourier transform in center from corners. Then we will apply filtering, means we will multiply the Fourier transform by filter function. Then we will again shift the DFT from center to corner. Last step would be take to inverse discrete Fourier transform to bring the result back from frequency domain to spatial domain. And this step of post processing is optional, just like pre processing, in which we just increase the appearance of the image. Filters. The concept of filter in frequency domain is same as the concept of a mask in convolution. After converting an image to frequency domain, some filters are applied in filtering process to perform the different kind of processing on an image. The processing include blurring an image, sharpening an image. The common type of filters for these purpose are ideal high pass filter, ideal low pass filter, Gaussian high pass filter and Gaussian low pass filter. So what about the high pass versus low pass filter? Blurring mask versus derivative mask. So we are going to perform a comparison between blurring mask and derivative mask. So blurring mask has following properties. All the values in blurring mask are positive. The sum of all the values is equal to 1. The edge content is reduced by using a blurring mask. As the size of mask grow, some more smoothing effect will take place. Now the derivative mask. A derivative mask has the following properties. A derivative mask has positive as well as negative values. The sum of all the values in derivative mask is equal to 0. The edge content is increased by a derivative mask. As the size of mask grows, more edge content is increased. The relationship between blurring mask and derivative mask with high pass filter and low pass filter. So blurring are also called as a low pass filter and derivative masks are called as the high pass filter. All high pass frequency components and low pass frequency components. So the high pass frequency components denotes edges, whereas the low pass frequency component denotes smooth regions. Ideal low pass and ideal high pass filter. This is the common example of low pass filter. When 1 is placed inside and the 0 is placed outside, we got a blurred image. Now as we see, increase the size of 1, blurring would be increased and edge content would be decreased. This is a common example of high pass filter. When 0 is placed inside, we get edges which gives us sketched image. An ideal low pass filter in frequency domain is given below. When 0 is placed inside, we get edges which gives us sketched image. An ideal low pass filter in frequency domain is given by the ideal low pass filter can be graphically represented as. Now let's just apply this filter to a actual image and let's see what we got. So you can see in this figure, this is the sample image and this is the frequency domain image. As we can see, applying filter over this image. So this is the filter, this is the resultant image. With the same way, an ideal high pass filter can be applied on an image. So, but obviously the results would be different as low pass reduces the edge content and high pass increase it. Now we will see about the Gaussian low pass filter and Gaussian high pass filter. So Gaussian low pass and Gaussian high pass filter minimize the problem that occur in ideal low pass and high pass filter. So this problem is known as a ringing effect and this is due to the reason because some points transition between one color to other cannot be defined precisely. and due to this, the ringing effect appears at this point. So have a look. 1 D0. This is the representation of ideal low pass filter. Now at the exact point of D0, you cannot tell what the value would be, 0 or 1. So due to which the ringing effects appears at that output. So in order to reduce the effects that appears in the ideal low pass and ideal high pass filter, the following Gaussian low pass filter and Gaussian high pass filter is introduced. Now the Gaussian low pass filter, the concept of filtering and low pass remains the same, but only the transition become different and become more smooth. The smooth curve transition due to which at each point the value of D0 can be exactly defined. This is the Gaussian low pass filter. 10, 20, 40 and 100 values we have to given. This is the D versus H. The Gaussian high pass filter has the same concept as ideal high pass filter, but again the transition is more smooth as compared to the ideal one. So that is the filters we have to work out on that. So now we will little bit move to the what is the feature extraction and what is the image extraction. So feature extraction is a process of dimensionally reduction by which an initial set of raw data is reduced to more manageable groups for processing. A characteristics of these large data sets is a large number of variables that require a lot of computing resources to process. Feature extraction is the name for methods which select or combine variable into these features. So effectively reducing the amount of data that must be processed while still currently and completely describing the original data set. So why this is useful? Why one data extraction or feature extraction is useful? So the process of feature extraction is useful when you need to reduce the number of resources needed for processing without losing important or relevant information. The feature extraction can also reduce the amount of redundant data for a given analysis. The reduction of data and the machine's efforts in building variable combinations facilitate the speed of learning and generalization steps in the machine learning process. Now we will see the practical uses of features extraction. Autoencoders. The purpose of autoencoders in unsupervised learning of efficient data coding. Feature extraction is used here to identify key features in the data for coding by learning from the coding of original data set to derive new ones. Bag of words, a technique for natural language processing that extracts the word used in sentence, documents, and websites and classifies them by frequency of use. These techniques can also be applied to the image processing. Image processing is one of the best and most interesting domain. In this domain, basically, you will start playing with your images in order to understand them. So here we use many techniques which include features extraction as well and algorithms to detect features such as shaped edges or motion in a digital image or video to process them. Now here we want to learn how to store images in the machine. So in this section, we will start with from scratch. For the first thing, we need to understand how a machine can read and store images. Loading the image, read them, and then process them through the machine is difficult because machine doesn't have eyes like us. So let's have a look at how a machine understands an image. Machines see any images in the form of a matrix of numbers. The size of the matrix actually depends on the number of pixels of input matrix image. What is pixel? Pixel value for each of the pixel stands for or describe how bright that pixel is and what color it should be. So, in the simplest case of binary images, the pixel value is a 1 bit number indicating either foreground, foreground and or background. So, pixels are the numbers or pixel values which denote the intensity or brightness of the pixel. Smaller numbers, which is closer to 0, helps to represent black, and the larger number, which is closer to 255, denote the white. So this is the concept of pixels and how machine sees the image without eyes through the number. Now the dimensions of image 28 into 28, and if you want to check then by counting the number of pixels you can verify. But for the case of a colored image we have three matrices or channels: red, green and blue. So we have generated the three separate matrices for three different colors. So in these three matrices, each of the matrix has value between 0 to 255, which represents the intensity of color of that pixel. If you have a colored image like the dog image we have in the above image on the left. So being a human, you have eyes so you can see and can say it is a dog colored image. But how computer can understand it is colored or black and white image? So let's we have to see here. So you can see we also have a three matrices which represents the channel of RGB for three color channels red, green and blue. On the right we have three matrices. These three channels are superimposed and used to form a colored image. So this is how a computer can differentiate between the image. Now how to use feature extraction techniques for image data. Features as grayscale pixel value. If we use the same example as our image, which we use above in the section, the dimension of the image is to 28 into 28, right? But can you guess the number of features for this image? The number of features is same as number of pixels, so that number will be 784. So now I have one more important question. How do we declare these 784 pixels as features of this image? Do you ever think about? So the solution is that you just can simply append every pixel value one after the other to generate a feature vector for the image, and let's visualize that. Now here we will see what is the mean pixel value channel. So for this scenario, the image has a dimensions 375, 503, and this 3 represents the RGB value as well as the number of channels. Now we will use the previous method to create the features. The total number of features will be, for this case, that is the 5,62,500. So from the past we all aware of that the number of features remain the same. In this case the pixel value from all three channels of the image will be multiplied. In this colored image has a 3D matrix of dimensions 375 into 500 into 3, whereas 375 denotes the height, 500 stands for the width, and 3 is number of channels. In order to get the average pixel value for the image. So, introduction to OpenCV. So, there are some predefined packages and libraries are there to make our life simple. One of the most important and popular library is OpenCV. It helps us to develop a system which can process images and real-time video using computer vision. So OpenCV focused on image processing, real-time video capturing to detect the faces and objects. So that is the basically we are seeing here the introduction to the OpenCV. Now background of OpenCV. So OpenCV was invented by the, so that is the basic features ki when it was invented. So that is a 1999 and the first release was the 2000. So OpenCV stands for the open source computer vision library, and this library is based on optimized C, C++, and it supports Java and Python along with C++ through the interfaces. OpenCV is the one of the most popular and successful library for computer vision, and it has an immense number of users because of its simplicity, processing time, and high demand in computer vision applications. So OpenCV Python is like a Python wrapper around the C++ implementation. OpenCV has more than 2,500 implemented algorithms which are freely available for commercial purpose as well. So now we will see here the application of OpenCV. So medical image analysis, we all know image processing in the medical industry is very popular. Let's take an example. So identify brain tumor. So every single day, almost thousands of patients are dealing with the brain tumor. So there are many software which are using OpenCV to detect the stage of the tumor using an image segmentation technique. One of the applications is RSIP Vision, which builds a probability map to localize the tumor and use deformable models to obtain the tumor boundaries with zero level energy. So it is also very useful if we are working on the image segmentations, extraction of image. So that is applicable to the cancer diseases also. So first thing is our object detection. So we can see here detecting the object from the image is one of the most popular applications. So you want to detect a person sitting on a two-wheeler vehicle without a helmet, which is equivalent to a defensible crime. So you can make a system which detects the person without a helmet and captures the vehicle number to add a penalty. There are many applications there using OpenCV which are really helpful and efficient. These applications are also taking us towards a more advanced world with less human efforts. So that is our applications. So why we are working towards the object detection, extraction of images. So it is a very important part in our. So we have to see in here that in this we have to initially we have to discuss about the frequency domain filters. So that is a way, that is also a very special task. Why we are workout, if we are working on the frequency domain filters, the quality or noise removal will be much easier with respect to the spatial domain. So little bit the process which we have, which we apply to the frequency domain, that will be the complicated, that will be the step will be much bigger. You have to pay the attention, but the result will be very good in that particular frequency domain filtering parts. And after then we will discuss about the image extraction part. So that is also important कि what type of softwares we are working on image rejection, how our image, suppose basically image rejection is you want to add your image part in the computer edit part. So it is a very tough task if your eyes can easily detect any type of object and color, but how is it possible to detect a computer? So there is a task ki how computer can detect. So there is a frames, RGB frames, there is a normal grayscale frame. So according to that matching data and according to requirement of our data, we can define the terms of object extraction. So it is the basic part we have to complete it. Now we have to also cover the other things in this lecture. Before, we have also performed the segmentation, why we have done the segmentation. And now today we will discuss about the image extraction. So why it is important of image extraction. So that is basically a process or technology by which any image that is interconnected with the computer or that is interface with the computer can read the image properly. So that's all from our side. We will little bit discuss some objective questions which you have to also covered in our last classes. So that is basically you have to done. Now you there are applications using the OpenCV which are really helpful and efficient. So OpenCV is a very good software for this one also. So which is the what is the equation used to obtain the S component? So there is basically conversion. So in that part we have to also done some questions of this conversion. But in this lecture we will also discuss about the conversion mechanism. So you have a RGB format. So you have to first of all convert your R, G, and B signals into the form of S because uh, it is required for our converting one model to another. What is the equation used to obtain component of each RGB pixel in the RGB color format? So that is the L that is equal to 1 upon 2 RGB, 1 upon 3 RGB. So that is the basically equation, that is the intensity component we can find out easily. What is the equation used for obtaining the value in terms of HSI components? So R that is equal to the 1 minus S cos H cos 60 minus H. So that is the different values. So you have to just remember ki what type of component R value is calculated from this formula. And what is the equation used for calculating the B value in terms of HSI component? So that is the value of B, blue value, how you can calculate the value of B. And what is the equation used for calculating the G value in terms of HSI? So these are the formulas which we have to use for calculating the different values. So this is a very basic requirement. Which of the following color models are used for color printing? So that is the RGB. Which type of models we are using for color printing? Now, what do you understand by the term pixel depth? So, this is also you have to define. It is a number of bits used to represent each pixel. It is the number of bytes used to represent each pixel. It is a number of units used to represent each pixel. So, that is the basic different components which we have to work on. Now, it is the how many bit RGB color image is represented by full color image. So, that is a 32-bit RGB color image, 24-bit RGB, 16-bit RGB color image. So that are the different types of images which in which we have to work out. So this is the all we have to today discuss about the frequency domain analysis of our filters, and the second one is the how we can image can be extracted. So I think it will be clear to you. So okay, so thank you.